Hi, it's Ben from BensGameTime here, and in gaming there's possibly nothing sadder than the death of a beloved series. A popular video game series ending is disappointing, as it means more games like the ones that have already proven themselves to be good aren't going to be made, and the game series can no longer evolve and try new things. To make an extreme analogy, it's like losing a close friend, when there were likely going to be more good times and new experiences to be had with them. However, on the flip side of this coin, there is nothing more hype than the announcement of a series returning.
The return of a long-forgotten or missing series can be the most exciting thing in gaming, as it means there's a possibility of a full new resurgence of said series. Nostalgia also plays a bit of a role in it, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, as it means the game series was fondly remembered, so it returning is a positive. There's plenty of examples of this. Guitar Hero was missing for 5 years, and when Guitar Hero Live was released, people were excited until they played the game. And the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games were missing since 2002 with Pro Skater 4, but then in 2015 Pro Skater 5 was released to much greater excitement until people played the game.
Yeah, 2015 wasn't a good year for bringing back game series. But hey, a remaster of Pro Skater 1 and 2 is coming out in September and people are still hyped about it. While bringing back a game series can sometimes lead to a botched game, other times they do end up as successful comebacks. And one game series that made a strong comeback was Punch-Out!
Punch-Out! Is Nintendo's arcade boxing series, and it is honestly a bit underrated. The series started out in the arcades, but then made its way onto home consoles with Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! For the NES in 1987 and Super Punch-Out! For the Super Nintendo in 1994. The games followed Little Mac, a small-in-stature boxer who was trying to become the world champion of the WVBA, the World Video Boxing Association. Each game came with a cast of colorful characters to go up against, each representing a different nationality and style. However, after Super Punch-Out!, there wasn't a new Punch-Out! Game in over a decade. It wasn't until 2009 that the series got rebooted on the Wii by Next Level Games, the people behind the Mario Strikers games, through a game appropriately titled Punch-Out!
Punch-Out! For the Wii was a surprise for sure, and could have been the series' big comeback, but instead it ended up as the last game in the series. Is this because it was a bad game, or was it because of neglect? Let's take a look.
Punch-Out! For the Wii is pretty much a beat-for-beat remake of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, with a few notable changes and improvements. First, to state the obvious, there's no Mike Tyson in this game, and no Mr. Dream replacement either.
Those motherfuckers!
Second is how you play the game. Punch-Out! Gives you 3 ways to play the game. You can either use the Wii Remote like an NES controller for an old school feel, use the Wii Remote and Nunchuck together and throw punches by punching with the Remote and Nunchuck, or you can use the Wii Remote and Nunchuck together with the Wii Balance Board to dodge with. Quick question, why would anyone play the game with either of these two methods? For reasons I'll get into soon, the game is just best played with the Wii Remote as a normal controller. I'll admit, when I first got the game I played using the Nunchuck, but I never played with the Balance Board.
Seriously, if you have the choice between playing with a normal controller and motion controls, the controller's going to win pretty much every time.
The gameplay is very similar to Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! You go through each circuit fighting a series of opponents, trying to become the champion of each circuit until you're the world champion. The fights last for 3 rounds of 3 minutes, with the goal of knocking out your opponent by either keeping them down for the 10 count or knocking them down 3 times in a single round. You do this by dodging your opponent's punches and then countering with a few of your own. There isn't much in terms of strategy in how or when you punch. You can only punch to face your body with each hand. The important thing is how you dodge. Different attacks require different dodges, either by moving left, right, ducking, or blocking the face. Sometimes opponents will protect certain body parts when they're stunned, but for the most part the game is straightforward. Between rounds, Doc Lewis, Little Mac's trainer, will give advice on how to win the fight. From the useful,
"You can't be rushing, baby, to win. The more soda pop misses, the better it is for you,"
to the not at all helpful.
"There are many ways to eat a chocolate, but there's only one way to eat a chocolate bar."
I'm literally dying out here, Doc. Give me some real advice. The only other major aspects of the game are star punches and stamina. Stars are earned by either hitting an opponent when they taunt, when you counter punches before they're thrown, or through other means. You can save up to 3 stars, and you can use them to unleash a star punch, a super strong uppercut. But if you take a hit, you lose all of your stars. Throwing a star punch uses all your stars at once, but the more stars you have, the more powerful your punch, and if you knock down an opponent with a star punch, they stay down for longer. Stamina essentially is just a gauge of whether or not you can throw a punch. Your max stamina changes based on who your opponent is, and you lose 1 point of stamina if a punch gets blocked, and 3 are lost if you get hit. When all your stamina is drained, you can't punch, but to get all your stamina back, all you need to do is dodge 1 punch. Then you're back in the fight.
The stamina mechanic isn't anything to write home about as it's just kinda there, but the new mechanics added to Punch-Out are very useful.
New to Punch-Out are ways to heal your health during the fight. When your opponent is down, you can throw punches to slowly regain health, so you want your opponent to be down as long as possible. Also, once a fight between rounds, you can press minus on the Wii Remote to have Doc Lewis eat a chocolate bar, which for some reason gives Little Mac a large boost to his health. Lastly is a last stand that can be sometimes activated when you're about to lose a fight. During the knockout cutscene, just rapidly throw punches, and if you're successful, Little Mac will stand up mid-fall and you have one last chance to win the fight. These are really great improvements to the game, and are especially needed for later fights.
Punch-Out successfully takes the gameplay of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out and adds in new mechanics to help the player stay in the fight. But that's not everything that this game brings to the table, as it fleshes out the opponents a bit more and has a solid career mode.
The cast of characters in this game includes the full cast of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, again minus Mike Tyson or Mr. Dream,
Those motherfuckers!
Bear Hugger and Aaron Ryan from Super Punch-Out, and one newcomer in Disco Kid. While each fighter comes from a different part of the world, the important thing is that each fighter has a different style, and each fight has small details that make each one unique. Vaughn Kaiser can be defeated in just 5 punches if you land a 3-star star punch when he taunts. King Hippo only needs to be knocked down once. Great Tiger teleports before each of his attacks, with the gem on his head indicating the punch. Don Flamenco has you throw a punch before he does, and can be comboed infinitely. Aaron Ryan has you immediately counter his punches in order to stun him, but being Irish means he takes 7 punches when he's stunned, gets up at 7, and your stamina is maxed out at 7. And Soda Popinski takes a page out of Little Mac's book by drinking soda to heal and getting up after getting knocked down.
Oh yeah, Soda Popinski? Well, 2 can play at that game. You know how in anime when a character is drinking something and it just kind of spills out of their mouths? I finally get that.
Each fight brings a different challenge to the table, and while you can win each fight by just slowly draining your opponent's health by stunning them and throwing punches, the game rewards getting stars and countering your opponent's signature moves. Throwing star punches during a taunt can knock down or completely KO your opponents, and countering attacks like Piston Hondo's Piston Rush or Bald Bull's Bull Charge will lead to an instant knockdown. Combine these details with the new healing abilities, and Punch-Out feels worthy of being in the modern era of gaming.
Now what's really cool about Punch-Out is that after you beat the game, there's even more to do in the title defense portion of the career mode.
After beating Mr. Sandman and becoming the world champion, you then enter title defense mode, where you must fight each opponent again. The catch is that each fighter comes back new and improved, with different gimmicks and new attacks. Glass Joe gets headgear which nullifies any punches to the head, Vaughn Kaiser gets a haircut, Disco Kid joins a boxer-sized class, King Hippo puts a manhole cover over his stomach as armor, Piston Hondo gets faster, Bear Hugger has a new squirrel friend, Great Tiger astral projects himself multiple times, Don Flamenco goes goth, Aaron Ryan cheats with a glove on a rope, Soda Popinski adds steroids to his soda, Bald Bull can't be knocked down by normal punches anymore, forcing you to star punch, Super Macho Man really doesn't change much, and Mr. Sandman gets faster and stronger. This is where the game really gets challenging, as along with newer, harder to dodge punches, each opponent will also have variations in the timing of their attacks, and will dodge star punches more easily if you haven't stunned them first. Also, the amount of knockdowns you can take is reduced to 2, and on the third it's gonna be a knockout, even on a different round. Each of these fights are still fun, and are still full of small details that go a long way to make each fight special. Many characters get new signature punches, like Vaughn Kaiser running at you, or Great Tiger sending multiple astral projections at you. Aaron Ryan will do a last attack of swinging his glove at you as he goes down. And Soda Popinski's fight is very momentum based, as each consecutive stun allows you to punch him an additional time. These fights get pretty creative, and they are where you'll find most of the game's difficulty, but they also highlight Punch-Out's biggest flaw, how the fights are organized. Because the gameplay is directly tied to reacting to the punches your opponent throws, everything is scripted to a degree. This makes it that subsequent fights against the same opponent are gonna be a bit easier since you've learned your opponent's attacks and how to beat them. This also ends up making the fights less about reaction time and more about memorizing the patterns of each opponent, which takes away a fair bit of the game's challenge. Combine that with some of the punches that require near instant timing to dodge, and you end up just memorizing the timing each fight follows in order to win. This is why using the nunchuck or the balance board is a bad idea, as you will be slower to dodge and punch when you need to be able to react instantly for some fights.
The fact that these fights require near-perfect timing pretty much forces you to memorize the timing instead of the patterns. But these fights are still enjoyable, and you still need to be fast enough to actually win the fights, so skill is still involved, just a bit less. Also, as a quick side note, the referee gets abused in this game, especially during title defense. Super Macho Man just shoves him out of the way, and Bald Bull will straight up murder him when he wins in title defense. You can see his body just limp over the ropes. Give that guy a raise. He deserves it.
After completing title defense mode, you enter Max Last Stand, the epilogue of the career mode. During Last Stand, you fight random opponents from the title defense mode, but if you lose 3 fights, Little Mac retires. This is a really creative way to end the career mode, and it's easily the most challenging part of the game since you can't practice for your opponent beforehand, you have to just dive right in. This is also the only time in the game where you can fight the secret boxer of Donkey Kong. That's right, you can unlock Donkey Kong as an opponent, and his inclusion isn't random either. During title defense, you can occasionally see Donkey Kong in the audience, likely scouting Little Mac for a fight. This is an amazing addition to the game, and it would be pretty cool if other characters got the guest star treatment if Punch-Out got another game. Imagine Little Mac going up against Wario, or King Dedede, or hell, maybe even a Hitmonchan. I guess that's what Little Mac's inclusion in Smash Bros. Is for, but it'd be neat to see these characters in a Punch-Out style fight. After losing 3 fights, your running career mode is over, and you get a nice little cutscene of Doc reminiscing in what appears to be a museum dedicated to Little Mac's boxing career.
The career mode is a great journey, and the game really gets difficult later on. It's a challenge that is very enjoyable, but that's not all that Punch-Out has to offer, as there's also an exhibition mode.
The exhibition mode allows you to fight any opponent you have faced already in the career mode, including the title defense variants and Donkey Kong. These primarily serve as a way to practice each fight and play your favorite fights again, as once a character is defeated in career mode, you don't get to fight them again. The other aspect of these exhibition fights is that they include 3 challenges to complete for each fight. These vary from getting star punches so many different ways, winning fights in specific time limits, winning fights under certain conditions, or countering your opponent's signature punches. These add an extra layer to these fights that make them stand out from the career mode fights, and are a real treat to complete. Completing all 3 challenges rewards you with a set of audio clips for the fight, including the music for the fight, Doc Lewis's quotes for the fight, and character quotes. This reward isn't bad, but you could also just look up these audio quotes on YouTube, so it loses its impact a bit. Overall, these exhibition fights are a great way to replay fights, and the challenges add a good shake-up to the gameplay.
Punch-Out for the Wii was a great reboot of the series. It takes what was previously established and builds upon it with new healing mechanics, fights that stand out as unique, and an exhibition mode that adds in new challenges to each of the fights. The gameplay is great, with the only real downside being that some of the later fights require some near-instant timing to dodge, pretty much requiring you to memorize the timing of each fight to win, instead of getting good at reacting to your opponent. The game is full of small details, like ways to counter your opponent and Donkey Kong not only appearing in the audience for some fights, but also as a secret fighter. And that's not all, as Glass Joe's headgear isn't just given to him because of potential brain damage, it's because he lost 100 fights, and if you lose 100 fights in career mode, you too can get your own headgear, which reduces the damage you take from punches, which is an insane level of attention to detail. It's clear that this game was developed carefully, and it shows in the game's quality, which makes it all the sadder that this was the last Punch-Out game released. I don't think the absence of Punch-Out since this game is because of this game's quality, as it was a really good game, but instead because of neglect from Nintendo. The time between Super Punch-Out and this game was over a decade, and I just don't think this series is high up on Nintendo's priority list, which is a shame because I would love to see a sequel to this game with more characters from Super Punch-Out and more new characters. Although this game wasn't the beginning of a full resurgence for Punch-Out, it was still a great game, and a must-own for your Wii collection. I give Punch-Out for the Wii 8 chocolate bars out of 10.